All right, so we're going to compare integers, and we're going to graph the integers on a number line. Now, before we do, I'm going to kind of talk about the positive side of the number line and what we're used to. We're used to our 0 being usually the start of our number line, and whenever we count, usually to the right, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so it's pretty plain to see that positive 3 would be to the right of your number, or to the right of 0 on your number line, going 3 spaces over. So 1, 2, 3 is where we put 3. Because remember, all positive numbers go to the right of 0 on the number line. So if all if all numbers to the right are positive, that means all numbers to the left are negative. Right? So here, remember, a positive 3, the opposite of a positive 3 is a negative 3. And they're at the same distance from 0 on the number line. So let's look here. If this is 0, and this is positive 1, I go 1 jump to the right to get to positive 1. That means I go 1 jump to the left to get to negative 1. Okay, 2 jumps to the left to get to negative 2. So 3 jumps to the left to get to negative 3. So here, negative 3 would be 3 jumps to the left of 0. 1, 2, 3. All right. Let's look at another question here. Look at question 2. So we're going to be comparing integers practice, okay? And we're going to use the number line given to us. The directions say compare each pair of integers using the greater than sign and the less than cards. So the greater than or less than cards. Remember, if it's hard to remember greater than or less than, remember the alligator always is going to eat the bigger number, okay? And remember, the further we go right on the number line, the larger or bigger our value gets. I'm going to write bigger. So the more we go right, the bigger our value gets. The more we go left, the smaller our value gets. Okay? Because here, remember, anything to the left of 0, these are really negative numbers over here. Okay, so I'm just going to put little negative signs in front of them to remember that these are all your negative numbers. All right, so let's locate some numbers here. We have negative 3 and we have 0. And I can see here that negative 3 is smaller than 0 because negative 3 is further to the left on the number line. So because negative 3 is smaller, I want the alligator to eat the bigger number. So the alligator should be eating 0 because 0 is greater than any negative number. And look, if you look here on the number line, negative 3 is further left on the number line, so it is smaller. Okay? All right, now let's look here. We have negative 23. All right? Our number line doesn't go that big, but let's think. We have negative 23 and negative 25. So, in positive world, 25 would be greater, right? But when they're in negative world, it's the opposite. It's like owing somebody $23. So if I owe $23 or if I owe 25, the more I owe, the less I have. So if I only owe $23, that means I have more than if I owe somebody $25. So here, negative 23 is greater than negative 25. So again, that alligator is going to be eating the bigger number, so we're going to drag and click over. All right, let's look at the next one here. Anytime we have a positive versus a negative, the positive is always going to be bigger because this is what you have. This is what you owe. So if the alligator is going to eat the bigger number, we want the alligator to eat the 46. Okay? So be sure to use these cards. Use your number line if you need it to remember which way the numbers are going, and go ahead and fill this in. Remember, the further you go right on a number line, the bigger you get. The further you go left on a number line, the smaller you get. All right, now we're going to order these integers from least to greatest. So if we're starting with the least, then we want all our negatives to be in the front, right? And kind of like the bigger the negative that you see, the more you owe, so that's the less you have. So I'm going to put all my negatives together first. I have negative 5, negative 9, and negative 12. I'm going to kind of set up another number line here. Okay, here's my 0. Here, the further I get into negative world, the smaller my value is going to get. I guess I didn't make my number line big enough, but pretend it keeps on going. Okay, so here, remember, here's 0. The further I get in, the smaller my value is getting because it's the more I owe, right? So here, negative 5, negative 9, and negative 12. I can clearly see negative 12 has the smallest value because it is furthest left on that number line, and it means I owe the most. Then next comes a negative 9. So negative 9 would go next. Then negative 5 is the greatest out of my negatives. Again, if we're asking for least, all your negatives are going to go in front because it's basically like copying that number line. So now I'm going to write my positives. I'm going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, again, look, if we're going from least to greatest, we know that a positive 3 is less than a positive 8. And if I set up a number line, look how the number line already has my numbers in order. Negative 12 is the smallest, then a negative 9, negative 5, 3, 8. It follows that number line. All right, last question we're going to do together. We're going to order the integers from least to greatest. Now remember here, these are all negatives. The bigger the negative, the smaller it is. This is like saying this is what you owe. So it's like opposite of positive world, right? If I were to start with 0 and I keep on going down the number line, we know here, let's say this would be negative 5, negative 10, negative 15, negative 20, negative 25, negative 30. Okay, if I were to graph negative 3, I know it would be between 0 and negative 5. So negative 3 would be about here. Then negative 18 would be about here. Oh, I missed negative 11. Negative 11 would just be just behind the negative 10. Negative 26 would be about here. And then we have our negative 30. Remember, the further left, the smaller your value is. So negative 30 would be the smallest value here, right? Then next we see that negative 26. So that one would be next. Then negative 18. Negative 11. And then negative 3 is actually the largest number in this set. Okay, so if it helps, draw a number line, or just remember in negative world, this is what you owe, not what you have.